So today we have quite a few new questions that are coming from the rules of the road section. So let's not waste time, let's get straight into them. So for the first question, when should headlights be turned on? Is it option A, only at night? Is it option B, when visibility is poor? Or is it option C, during the day only? Now it's very important that you look at the options given to you, and then from there you can decide what the correct answer is. So we see option A says only at night. Now we know that our headlights can be turned on during the day if you are driving in hazardous conditions, so obviously option A can't be your answer. And in option C, it says during the day only, so we obviously know you don't only use your headlights during the day. Therefore, option B would be your correct answer. Your headlights should be turned on when visibility is poor. What does a green arrow at a traffic light mean? Is it option A, you must go straight only? Is it option B, you may turn in the direction of the arrow? Or is it option C, you have to stop? So if you see a green arrow, it means that you are allowed to turn in the direction of that arrow. Therefore, option B would be your correct answer. What should you do if you are involved in a minor accident? Now I have spoken about this before, but I spoke about major accidents. So now we're talking about a minor accident, which is a small accident. So it's something like a fender bender. So what should you do if you are involved in that? Is it option A, leave the scene if no one is hurt? Is it option B, stop and exchange information? Or is it option C, ignore it? Now the correct thing to do here would be to stop and exchange information. Therefore, that is your correct answer. How should you signal if your vehicle has broken down on the road? Is it option A, wave your hands out the window? Is it option B, use hazard lights? Or is it option C, use high beams? So for option A, it says wave your hands out the window. Now please don't do that. People are going to think you are mad. So the correct answer here would be option B. What does a blue road sign indicate? Let's look at our options. Is it option A, a warning? Is it option B, information or direction? Or is it option C, prohibition? The correct answer here would be information or direction. At what blood alcohol concentration is it illegal to drive? So BAC will stand for blood alcohol concentration. Is it option A, 0.05% or higher? Is it option B, 0.02% or higher? Or is it option C, any amount of alcohol? Now, in the case of a normal driver, it will be 0.05% or higher. And remember, if you are a professional driver, then it will be 0.02% or higher. So what should you do if you see an emergency vehicle with lights and sirens behind you? Is it option A, maintain your speed? Is it option B, move to the side of the road and stop? Or is it option C, stop immediately? Now, the correct answer here would be option B, you have to move to the side of the road and stop. Now, if you read the question carefully, you'll understand that they are talking about a road that only has one lane, right? Either it's a two-way road or it's a one-way road with one lane. That's why they are telling you to move to the side of the road and stop. But if you are on a road that has multiple lanes, then obviously you just have to change lanes and let the emergency vehicle go past. They're only telling you that you need to move to the side of the road and stop if it's on a one-lane road. So what does a solid white line in the center of the road mean? Is it option A, overtaking is allowed? Is it option B, no overtaking is allowed? Or is it option C, lane changing allowed? Now, if you see a solid white line, it means you are not allowed to overtake, right? You're not even allowed to let your vehicle touch that line. You're not allowed to cross the line, and you're not allowed to let your vehicle touch that line. When driving in fog, you should, option A, use your high beam headlights. Is it option B, use your low beam headlights? Or is it option C, turn off your headlights. Now the correct answer here would be option B. You need to use your low beam headlights if you are driving in fog. So what must you do if you see a flashing amber light at an intersection? Is it option A, stop, option B, proceed with caution, or is it option C, speed up to pass? The correct answer here would be proceed with caution. How often should you check your mirrors while driving? Is it option A, every 5 seconds? Is it option B, regularly? Or is it option C, only when turning? Now, the thing that you need to know is the general rule for checking your mirrors is that you need to check your mirrors every 6 to 8 seconds. However, in this question, like I always say, you have to look at the options given to you. The correct answer here would be option B, which is regularly. Because remember, every 5 seconds is a bit too soon. And obviously for option C, they say only when turning. That is incorrect. You have to check it every 6 to 8 seconds, which is basically regularly, right? Which vehicles must stop at a railway crossing? Now this is a very interesting question because you have to know this rule off by heart, right? Let's go through the options and then I will explain it to you. Is it option A, all vehicles? Is it option B, only vehicles carrying hazardous materials? Or is it option C, none? So let's read the question one more time and then let me explain. So which vehicles must stop at a railway crossing? Now according to South African law, right, vehicles that are carrying hazardous materials must stop at a railway crossing, right? Even if there are no trains at the railway crossing, they still have to stop, right? Now, if you compare it to a person driving a normal vehicle, they can approach this railway crossing and they can then pass, right? They don't have to stop. But if you are driving a vehicle that is carrying hazardous materials, legally you have to stop, right? So I hope that makes it a bit easier to understand. So the correct answer here would be option B. Like I said, these rules are rules that you have to remember. So what's a good thing to do is to keep a notepad next to you and just write down these rules and memorize them. So when you go to write your test, then you automatically remember it. When is it allowed to use a cell phone while driving? Is it option A, only if you are using a hands-free device? Is it option B, when stopped at a red light? Or is it option C, never? Now, you're only allowed to use your cell phone while driving if you have a hands-free device. Therefore, option A will be your correct answer. What should you do if a pedestrian is waiting at a pedestrian crossing? Is it option A, slow down and stop to let them cross? Is it option B, drive around them? Or is it option C, ignore them? Now, please don't ignore them because you're going to end up knocking them. So the correct answer here would be option A, because as I've said before, the pedestrian will always have the right of way. So you have to stop and let them pass. What is the legal following distance between your car and the vehicle in front of you on a highway? Now, can you see that in this question they are referring to a highway? Now, a lot of people are going to get confused here because what they end up doing is they end up learning just for the normal road. And then when they see the word highway, they're going to get confused. They're going to think, oh, maybe the distance is going to be different. However, the distance is the exact same on any other road. The only time that your distance should increase is if you are driving during hazardous conditions. So is it option A? The legal following distance between your car and the vehicle in front of you should be at least 2 seconds. Is it option B? It should be at least 1 second. Or is it option C? It should be at least 4 seconds. The correct answer here would be option A. It should be at least 2 seconds. What does a red traffic light with a green arrow pointing right mean? Is it option A, you have to stop completely? Is it option B, turn right only if it is safe to do so? Or is it option C, proceed straight? So if you see the traffic light is red, but there's a green arrow pointing towards the right hand side, it means that you can turn right only if it is safe to do so. So option B would be your correct answer. What must you do if you see a pedestrian crossing the road at an unmarked crosswalk? Is it option A, continue driving as long as you are not speeding? Is it option B, stop and allow the pedestrian to cross? Or is it option C, honk to alert them of your presence? Now, as I always say, the pedestrian will always have the right of way, so you have to stop and allow the pedestrian to cross. When parking uphill on a road with a curb, which way should you turn your front wheels? Now this is very confusing because I'm sure a lot of people are going to get this incorrect, right? So is it option A, towards the curb? Is it option B, away from the curb? Or is it option C, keep them straight? Now if you can imagine a slope, right? And now you go and you park your vehicle along the slope next to a curb. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to turn your front wheels away from the curb. Because if your vehicle does begin to roll, obviously because your wheels are pointed away from the curb, it will then hit against the curb and it will prevent your vehicle from rolling into traffic. So by turning your front wheels away from the curb, you are preventing your vehicle from rolling into traffic and harming other people. So option B would be your correct answer. What should you do if you experience a tire blowout while driving? Now, a tire blowout is basically a sudden loss of air pressure in your tire. So what should you do if you experience this? Is it option A, you should brake immediately? Is it option B, hold the steering wheel firmly and gradually slow down? Or is it option C, accelerate to regain control? Now, under no circumstances should you actually try to accelerate if you are experiencing a tire blowout. So obviously option C is not the correct answer. Now for option A, it says brake immediately. And if you do try to brake immediately while experiencing a tire blowout, your vehicle is going to lose control. So option B would be your correct answer. You will have to hold the steering wheel firmly and gradually slow down. You're not going to try to slow down immediately, okay? What is the rule for using a roundabout? Is it option A, give way to traffic from your left? Is it option B, give way to traffic from your right? Or is it option C, you have the right of way? Now when you do stop at a roundabout, you will see that all the traffic will approach you from the right hand side. Therefore, option B will be your correct answer. You will have to give way to traffic from your right. What does a yellow diamond shaped sign with a black arrow indicate? So see, this is how they can ask you about road signs without actually showing you any road signs. So now the thing is, when you're studying, you need to identify the shape of each sign and you need to look at the colors of each sign. If you watch all my road sign videos, you see that I always emphasize the color and the shape of a road sign. That is very important because you can see in questions like this, they're just describing the road sign and they are asking you what does it indicate. Now a lot of people may get this wrong. So is it option A, it will indicate a sharp bend ahead? Is it option B, the lane ends ahead? Or is it option C, traffic merges ahead? Now the correct answer here would be option A. The yellow diamond shaped sign with a black arrow will indicate a sharp bend ahead. What must you do before changing lanes on a busy road? Is it option A, honk to alert other drivers? Is it option B, check your mirrors, blind spots and use your indicators? Or is it option C, change lanes quickly without slowing down? Now when you are changing lanes, you're going to have to check your mirrors to see if there are any cars in that lane. You will have to check your blind spots to see if there's any car that is in your way. And obviously you will have to use your indicator in order to alert other road users that you intend on going into a specific lane. Therefore, option B would be your correct answer. What does a flashing red traffic light mean? Is it option A, stop and proceed when safe? Is it option B, yield to oncoming traffic? Or is it option C, drive with caution? Now, if you see a traffic light that is flashing red, you're going to have to stop and proceed only when it is safe to do so. What should you do if an animal crosses the road in front of you? Is it option A, speed up to scare it away? Is it option B, slow down or stop if necessary? Or is it option C, ignore it and keep driving? Now, if you see an animal that is crossing the road in front of you, you're going to have to slow down or stop if it is necessary to do so. When are you allowed to drive in the emergency lane? Is it option A, during the rush hour? Is it option B, when overtaking? Or is it option C, in an emergency situation only? Now, it's called an emergency lane for a reason, and you are only allowed to use this lane if you are in an emergency situation. Therefore, option B would be your correct answer. What is the maximum legal speed limit on South African national roads outside urban areas? Is it option A, 80 kilometers an hour? Is it option B, 100 kilometers an hour? Or is it option C, 120 kilometers an hour? Now the correct answer here would be option C. The maximum legal speed limit on South African national roads outside urban areas would be 120 kilometers an hour. Now, how should you react if you see a school zone sign? Should you reduce your speed? Should you maintain your speed? Or should you speed up to pass quickly? Obviously, if you see a school zone sign, you have to slow down. So option A would be your correct answer. What does a red circle with a white bar in the middle mean? Now again, they're testing how well you know your road signs. So imagine a red circle and there's a white bar in the center. What does that mean? Does it mean that there is no entry? Does it mean that you have to stop? Or does it mean that there is a pedestrian crossing? The correct answer would be option A, no entry. Now what must you do at a stop sign? Do you have to slow down and proceed if the road is clear? Do you have to stop completely and only proceed when it is safe? Or do you have to yield to oncoming traffic? Now, if you see a stop sign, you will have to come to a complete stop, right? Even if there are no cars there, you still have to come to a complete stop, and then you can only proceed if it is safe to do so. So option B would be your correct answer. What does a blue circular sign with a white arrow indicate? Now imagine a blue circular sign and imagine a white arrow in that sign. What does it indicate to you? Is it option A, a direction must be followed? Is it option B, a prohibited direction? Or is it option C, a pedestrian zone? Now the correct answer here would be option A. A blue circular sign with a white arrow will indicate a direction that must be followed. So it means that you must go in that direction. What should you do if you miss an exit on a freeway? Is it option A, reverse to the exit? Is it option B, make a U-turn? Or is it option C, proceed to the next exit? Now, you cannot stop on a freeway, you cannot reverse on a freeway, and you cannot make a U-turn on a freeway because that will obviously cause an accident. Therefore, you have to continue until you find the next exit and then take that exit. Therefore, option C will be your correct answer. When driving at night, when should you switch to low beam headlights? Is it option A, when approaching another vehicle? Is it option B, only on highways? Or is it option C, only in urban areas? Now obviously if you're approaching another vehicle, you have to use your low beam lights, because if you don't, then you're going to blind the other person that's driving in the opposite direction, right? So option A would be your correct answer. What does a triangular road sign with a red border indicate? Is it option A, it's warning of hazards ahead? Is it option B, mandatory instructions? Or is it option C, information about facilities? Correct answer here would be option A, it's warning of hazards ahead. What does a solid double yellow line in the center of the road mean? Is it option A, no overtaking is allowed? Is it option B, overtaking is allowed? Or is it option C, one-way traffic? Now if you see a solid double yellow line in the center, it means that no overtaking is allowed. What is the purpose of a traffic circle? A traffic circle is known as a roundabout. So what is the purpose of this? Is it option A, to slow down traffic? Is it option B, to allow faster vehicles to pass? Or is it option C, to allow a smooth flow of traffic without stopping? The correct answer here would be option C, to allow a smooth flow of traffic without stopping. What should you do if your vehicle starts to skid on a wet road? Is it option A, slam on the brakes? Is it option B, turn in the direction of the skid? Or is it option C, turn in the opposite direction of the skid? Now the correct answer here would be turn in the direction of the skid. When are you allowed to use your hazard lights while driving? When driving in heavy rain or fog? Is it option B, only when stopped or stationary to indicate an emergency? Or is it option C, when driving on a highway? The correct answer here would be option B. You can only use your hazard lights while driving if you are stopped or stationary to indicate an emergency. What does a red triangle with a black exclamation mark inside indicate? Now imagine this, right? It's a red triangle and there's a black exclamation mark inside the sign. Will that warn you of a general hazard ahead? Will it warn you of no entry for vehicles, or will it instruct you to stop immediately? The correct answer here will be option A. That sign will warn you of a general hazard ahead. What should you do if a traffic officer signals you to stop, but the traffic light is green? Is it option A, you should obey the traffic officer? Is it option B, continue driving? Or is it option C, honk to alert the officer? Now, I have spoken about this quite a few times in the past. Now, the general rule in South Africa is that you will always obey the traffic officer. So obviously in this situation, if you see a traffic light and it's green, however, the traffic officer tells you to stop, you're going to have to obey the traffic officer and stop your vehicle. Now, let me give you another example, right? Let's say you're driving on the road and you see a road sign that tells you to stop. However, the traffic officer indicates to you that you should carry on driving and not stop. You have to listen to what he says and you have to ignore the road sign. The traffic officer's instruction will always be more important than any road sign. Now, who has the right of way at a four-way stop if two vehicles arrive at the same time? Is it option A, the vehicle on the left? Is it option B, the vehicle on the right? Or is it option C, the larger vehicle? Now, in this case, if two vehicles arrive at the same time at a four-way stop, the vehicle to the right will always have the right of way and they will have to move off first. Therefore, the answer will be option B. What should you do if your brakes fail while driving downhill? Now, let's say you're driving downhill and somehow your brakes just stop working. What should you do? How do you slow down the car? How do you protect yourself and other road users? Is it option A, turn off the engine? Is it option B, use the handbrake and shift to a lower gear? Or is it option C, accelerate to maintain control? Now, option C makes no sense whatsoever, right? So obviously that cannot be your answer. And with option A, it says turn off the engine. Obviously you can't do that as well. Or should I say you shouldn't do that. The only correct answer here would be option B. You're going to have to use your handbrake and shift to a lower gear. What is the purpose of a chevron road marking? Is it option A, to separate traffic lanes? Is it option B, to indicate areas where parking is allowed? Or is it option C, to warn of sharp bends or hazards ahead? Now, the purpose of a chevron road marking is to warn you of a sharp bend or any hazards ahead. What does a blue rectangular sign with a white P indicate? Is it option A, pedestrian crossing? Is it option B, a parking area? Or is it option C, a petrol station? So you're going to have to know that the white P will actually stand for parking, right? It doesn't stand for petrol station, nor does it stand for a pedestrian crossing. So the correct answer here would be option B, parking area. What should you do if you encounter a stop and go system at Roadworks? Now, let's say there's repairs happening to a road, or there's construction taking place and that's going to affect the flow of traffic. There's going to be a system that's known as a stop and go. And that's sort of a contraption in which a person will stand next to that and they're going to flip a road sign, and on one side of the road sign it will say go, and on the other side it will say stop. Now, generally, if you're going to drive up to this stop and go system, the person standing by the system is going to show you a specific side of the road sign. So let's say he's showing you the side that says stop. You're going to have to stop your vehicle and let the vehicle that's coming from the other direction proceed before you. If he then turns it around and it says go, you may then take off and continue on your way. So let's look at the possible options, right? Option A would say ignore the stop sign and proceed carefully. Is it option B, stop and wait for the signal to proceed? Or is it option C, honk to alert the workers? Now, the correct answer here would be option B. You would have to stop and wait for the signal to proceed. What does a flashing yellow arrow at a traffic light mean? Now, in the previous video, we spoke about a flashing green arrow. So let's look at our options, right? Is it option A, you're going to have to stop and wait? Is it option B, proceed with caution in the direction of the arrow? Or is it option C, ignore the arrow and follow the main light? Now, the correct answer here would be proceed with caution in the direction of the arrow. So what is the purpose of a rumble strip on the road? Is it option A, to reduce vehicle speed and alert drivers? Is it option B, to mark parking spaces? Or is it option C, to separate lanes of traffic? So rumble strips are basically things that are put on the ground in order to make you slow down. So if you are in an area where there's roadworks taking place, or even if you are in an area that has a lot of foot traffic, you are going to have rumble strips, right? And the purpose of this is to reduce vehicle speed and alert drivers. So option A would be your correct answer. What should you do if a vehicle in front of you suddenly stops? Is it option A, swerve into the next lane? Is it option B, maintain a safe following distance and stop if necessary? Or is it option C, honk to alert the driver? So option A says swerve into the next lane. Obviously you cannot do that, because if there's a car that's in that lane, then you are going to cause an accident. Option B says maintain a safe following distance and stop if necessary, and that is correct, right? You're going to have to maintain a safe following distance, and because of this, you're going to have enough time to slow down if the vehicle in front of you suddenly stops. What does a triangular sign with a picture of falling rocks mean? Is it option A, area prone to landslides? Is it option B, construction zone ahead? Or is it option C, rocks blocking the road? Now, if you see a triangular sign with a picture of falling rocks, it means that this area is prone to landslides. So it's option A. So what should you do when entering a freeway? Is it option A, speed up to match the flow of traffic? Is it option B, stop and wait for a gap? Is it option C, enter without checking for other vehicles? The correct answer here would be option A. You're going to have to speed up to match the flow of traffic. Remember, they're not telling you to speed up and break the speed limit. They're telling you to speed up to match the flow of traffic. What does a circular sign with a red border and a white background indicate? Now, that's why I say it's very important for you to first look at the shape of the sign, then look at the colors, right? So what does this type of sign indicate? Is it option A, there's a warning of danger ahead? Is it option B, a prohibition or a restriction? Or is it option C, just general information? Correct answer here would be prohibition or restriction. Remember, if they are warning you of something, it will be a triangular shaped sign with a red border and a white background. What does a triangular sign with a red border and a picture of children walking mean? Is it option A, there is a school zone ahead? Is it option B, there is a pedestrian crossing? Or is it option C, there is a play area nearby? Now, if you do see the sign, it is actually indicating to you that there is a school zone ahead. And you're going to have to reduce your speed, as there's a chance that there could be children that are running across the road. What does a triangular sign with a picture of a car and squiggly lines mean? So when you're talking about squiggly lines, they're actually referring to basically tire tracks, right? So you know what tire tracks looks like. It's not always in a straight line. It's kind of squiggly. That's what they are referring to. So is it option A, there's a slippery road surface ahead? Is it option B, there are speed bumps ahead? Or is it option C, there's a car wash nearby? Now the correct answer here would be there's a slippery road surface ahead. What does a triangular sign with a train on it mean? Is it option A, there is a railway crossing ahead? Is it option B, there is a train station nearby? Or is it option C, there is a truck stop ahead? The correct answer here would be option A, there is a railway crossing ahead. We have now come to the end of the video. I want to thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far to the end of the video. If you found that this video was useful for you, if you've learned new things, then please give the video a like. And if you want more videos like this, then please subscribe. I want to wish you all the best on your learner's license test, especially if you're writing soon. Remember, I always say that if you put in enough effort, you will definitely pass. So I want to thank you again. May God bless you. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Take it easy.